What up? This is Rama Screen, and in the anticipation of Ben Whitley's new horror thriller In the Earth, arriving in theaters April 16, I'm here talking with one of the stars of this new film, Ellora Torchia. How are you, Ellora?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Thank you for taking the time. Congrats on the film. So I read somewhere that you guys made this movie last year in about 15 days or so during quarantine lockdown. I mean, my goodness, that sounds intense. Did the filming process come with a sense of urgency? And what were some of the COVID safety precautions on the set?
Yes, we did. We did film it in about 15 days.
Wow.
It was extremely intense, and it was also extremely invigorating and scary and fun. So all of those things wrapped into one. I think everybody sort of just put their all into it and just plowed through. Ben was phenomenal. He was also editing at the end of every day, so filming and editing as we went. So it's also one of the reasons why I think the film has been able to sort of do what it's doing now and be out so fast. COVID precautions, yeah, there were loads. I mean, but I suppose at that time when we were doing it, it was the first. Nobody kind of knew what they were doing, so we sort of were all isolating in this kind of holiday inn in the middle of nowhere. Crew, cast, producers, everybody all together. There was no one else there. We were getting tested on a sort of daily, no, not daily, maybe every 2 or 3 days. Masks on set, continual hand sanitizing, sort of what we think is normal now. But doing it then, it was sort of the first. It was the first experience I had of it, and I think everybody there had of it. So yeah, it was surreal. It was very, very surreal.
Hopefully, it's not like a set standard moving forward, right?
Yes, I hope as well that we can return to some kind of normality. But I think productions are doing a great job now. I mean, I'm filming something now and have filmed things since then. And, it's really sort of moved on now. So it's kind of very fluid and it's like second nature, and we're all just adapting. So yeah, it's a different experience filming now with those protocols. But in terms of how fast we filmed, no, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. It was absolutely terrific to film that fast. It was it's liberating. You don't think too much. You just do. So yeah.
Having gone from Midsummer was a horror movie about cult to something like this, In the Earth, a horror movie that also deals some sort of with mysticism plus pandemic fears and paranoia. Are there parallels between both films, and what drew you to this type of story again and again?
It's an interesting question. I think there are, as you say, parallels between each of those stories. I think the way in which they were filmed were completely different. And Ari, who's absolutely amazing and a complete visionary, and was incredible to work with, works in a completely different way. And the script and the way it's written and the sort of level of detail in imagery and stuff is completely different to the way Ben writes. So reading these two scripts, for me personally, whilst coincidentally they are part of the same kind of genre potentially, I definitely didn't approach it sort of with the inkling to kind of be caught up in that. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a subconscious thing going on, and I'm drawn to these things. I'm not sure. But for me, very much it was the sort of psychological baggage that came with both of those characters and what I read on the page. And I think they're in their own right are very sort of full and rich scripts and works of art.
Fun question. I'm not an outdoors cat. I hate camping, but I love that scene where you already finish up your tent and then you're about to help Joel put up his tent because he was kind of lost about it. What about you, Ellora? Are you an outdoors cat? Can you set up your tent in a record-breaking time?
Oh gosh, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm able to set up a tent in record-breaking time, but yes, I think in that aspect, me and Alma are probably quite similar. I love being outdoors. I love trekking. I love, but yeah, I'm a big outdoorsy human being.
How would you describe Alma though? Is she naive or is she too cautious? Because it seemed to me that both Martin and Alma did have a lot of blind spots.
They do have a lot of blind spots, sorry, or they don't?
They do.
They do. Yes, I think that both Alma and Martin are very human in their own right, But I think what stands out for Alma as in being different to the other three characters is that somewhere along the line, she just sort of lets the forest do what it's going to do. And as her role, as her job as a park ranger, she is just there to sort of serve the purpose of guiding people through the forest. I mean, and it's very, very simple in that sense. I think you've got the scientist approach that comes later on in the story. You've got the sort of spiritual, religious kind of thing going on with Reece Shearsmith's character. You've got Joel Fry, a man who's sort of being led into the woods by his heart, looking for somebody he once had a thing with, and Alma's just there, and I think she's just sort of being content with the moment and trying not to ask too much of her environment or trying to create any meaning for it. So yeah, that's a roundabout way of answering your question, maybe, but I think she's a complex. She's complex.
And finally, this must be, or this must have been a physically grueling role for you. I mean, I saw an arrow and a bow, and Joel's feet got chopped off. I'm like, and then you guys been like, I know it seems to me it's very physically draining. Can you talk a bit about that? What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely sort of, I think all of us underestimated the physical, the amount of physical kind of work we would need to do. But it was also sort of super amusing because, I think whilst each of these characters are, relatively sort of in good shape, I don't think anybody walks out kind of going, we're going to go for a three-day trek and actually think, actually I'm going to spend 24 hours running through the night. You don't do that. So I think the level of fitness was just about right for what was being asked. We did have a couple of funny moments where Ben decided to, for the arrow scene, for instance, shoot it on what was somewhat a hill. And it was quite amusing because he was just like, okay, so Ellora, you're just going to run up this hill like 45 times. So yeah, at which point I was much fitter by the end of the project than I was at the start.
It did sound like an exercise, most definitely. So for my fans at home, everybody go check out In the Earth, arriving in select theaters April 16. Ellora, thank you so much for talking to me, and congratulations.
Thank you.